Good evening to those of you in my time zone, good afternoon, and good morning to those of you who aren't in my time zone. Welcome to the first episode of the Anzisha Prize. It starts with you, watch parties. We're very excited for you to join us. My name is Didi Onu, and I have the exciting job of telling stories of young African entrepreneurs at the Anzisha Prize. The Anzisha Prize is a partnership between African Leadership Academy and the MasterCard Foundation, in which we champion, celebrate, and support very young entrepreneurs on the continent. We have a plethora of things that we do to support them and celebrate them. I think most people might be familiar with our prize competition, our fellowship program, and we have other storytelling campaigns and resources in which we aim to inspire young people to see entrepreneurship as a viable career option and influence those around them to see entrepreneurship as a viable career option. So that's the Anzisha Prize in a nutshell. Our newest campaign, and the reason you're here today, is the It Starts With You docu-series. It's an 8-episode documentary series with accompanying case studies highlighting and exploring 8 entrepreneurs' entrepreneurial journey in which they underwent key behavioral moments and changes that contributed to their success today. And the first video we'll be watching is Ignatius Ahumuza, who is currently trying to connect from Uganda. So we're hoping that after we watch the video, he'll be able to join us with his co-founder, Cleofash, who also happens to be his brother. So while we wait, I think just a few ground rules. If you all have an issue, perhaps watching the video when we play it, we will pop in a YouTube link that you could watch while we're playing ours and then pop back into the conversation. And then there will be an opportunity for all of us to have a Q&A session with Ignatius and Cleofash after we have the discussion. And so without further ado, here is Ignatius Ahumuza choosing agriculture as a career.
Today we are at Masindi Islamic Primary School, and this is one of the schools the Art Planet Academy works with. We are here to do a practical training in vegetable production. You're going to divide yourselves. The youth of today do not treasure agriculture so much. Why? Because they are sure even if they practice agriculture, they will still remain poor. If I want to transform Africa through agriculture, I'll have to train a 9-year-old child how to practice agriculture sustainably so that by the time they are 15, they are actually already practicing. Hello, my name is Ignatius Ahumuza. I'm a co-founder of the Art Planet Academy, and I'm here to say that it starts with you, with you, with you, and you, with you. Growing up, I hated farming so much. My dad was a farmer. He was very poor. And stories had it that our ancestors were also farmers, but they were still poor. So as a child, I knew that if I do agriculture, I will definitely be poor. I had it wrong. I remember dropping out of university. I was a medical student. I left school and went for an agriculture course. Education plus the practical knowledge that I had brought about innovativeness. So I was forced to think on how to change the education system in the only one subject that I performed well, probably because I was born in a farming family. That's how I realized my fortune in agriculture. As a result of our trainings, smaller agriculture enterprises are established within the schools. Now, these micro-agriculture enterprises help a school save a lot of money every year. When this similar project is replicated in the homes of the children, families are able to raise income for themselves and also feed themselves.
The trainers came at our school, trained us how to make a nursery bed. So even me, I took that skill at home. In my first harvest, I got 5 bags. I sold them, I got 100,000 shillings. That helped my parents pay for my school fees.
Ati babiri wange ono bwakuba kuzire alina obukugo obwo obwafunire ku Rugamba Art Planet bw'araba nasobola kukola omulimu ogwo akasira kataito kano akusobola kugukora mu musiro gukooto kandi awo nasobola n'okuleetayo bagenzi be abatalina emirimu we n'abasasula kandi nawe wenka hanyuma tunzire n'afuna sente nasobola kweyemereza nk'omuntu.
The relevance of starting young, especially with entrepreneurship, is you grow with whatever you are doing, you keep learning, and it creates an opportunity to inspire other young people, because whenever they see you doing it and you're young, it makes them believe that it's all possible. Even at a young age, you can start an organization and grow with it.
Innovativeness is key to becoming a successful agricultural entrepreneur. The ability to see business where no one sees business will help you make money. I think usually zikinakuwa branches and leaves, at times fruits. As an entrepreneur, there are times when you feel the business is failing. That courage to keep going when no one else would go is the reason as to why you'll become a successful entrepreneur. In most agriculture-based countries of Africa, you realize that irrespective of the degree course you do, irrespective of how far you go in terms of studies, at one point in time you'll have to come back home and practice agriculture. We want to become the African Leadership Academy for Agriculture. We want to develop the next generation of young agriculture entrepreneurs across the African continent and our country.
Yes, and it looks like Ignatius and Cleophas have joined us. Hi, Ignatius. Hi, Cleophas. Thank you for joining us. Can you hear me?
Hi, Didi. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure being here, joining you on this call.
Great.
Yes,
Cleophas, how are you?
Yes, hello. Hi, everyone. Yeah, this is Cleophas. It's a pleasure having you here.
Great. So we watched your video, and Ignatius, I must say that my favorite part of that video is when you go, "It starts with you," and you have your Oprah moment. Everyone always loves that part wherever we play it.
No, I was trying to connect with the audience with whom we were communicating this.
Yeah,
So,
I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
Cool. So for those of you who joined us and didn't have the opportunity to watch the video, I'm just going to give you a quick bio about Cleophas and Ignatius. So Ignatius Ahumuza is a social entrepreneur with a very high passion for education and agricultural transformation. He co-founded AgriPlanet Uganda, an organization that is at the forefront of reimagining farming practices in Africa. Cleophas Alinetwe is an agriculture enthusiast with a huge affinity for smallholder farmer transformation. During his university years, Cleophas decided to start the Uganda Microgarden Initiative and would later partner with his brother to co-found AgriPlanet Uganda. And so Ignatius, as we've watched your video, we've had sort of a snapshot into how you ventured into agriculture. It seemed almost inevitable as you talk about your ancestors and your father being a farmer, but could you describe the defining moment where it changed from you hating farming and going into agriculture and farming?
Okay, so just as you might have heard in the video, based on the fact that I was raised in a farming family and a farming village, being a farmer was not a part of any child's dream in that village, because no one wanted to be poor, just like everyone doing agriculture was. But in the early 2000s, I remember there was a USAID program that was being run in our village, and this program benefited one of the people in that place. he was empowered to establish a juice processing plant because he had a huge acreage of mangoes. So he started outsourcing mangoes from neighbors, and he came up with a juice brand. This really touched me so much. I started believing that it is very possible. Now, what made the situation even worse was my dad's case. The fact is that we were very poor. But along the way, there's a way my dad changed from agriculture production to agriculture marketing, and all of a sudden, our family was lifted from just a poor family to a middle class status. So this built the hope and belief in me that in one way or another, if subjected to the right training and right conditions, agriculture can transform the lives of a family. So those are the two spark points that changed my thinking totally and got me starting to believe that it is possible.
And Cleophas, like I mentioned, both of you are brothers. What was your hearing Ignatius talk about the transformation of what his dad did, and then also the juicing and everything? What was sort of your inspiration into going into agriculture?
My inspiration into joining agriculture is not much different from that of Ignatius. But personally, my great motivation was from my dad. My dad was a very hardworking man, and he liked tilling the land. He was very enterprising. Yeah, so he would grow maize, then rush to the markets to Kampala to do the sales. And then from that way, that would generate enough money, and that would push us through school. So personally, I just wanted to be like my dad. I wanted to make a living from agriculture, and that's how.
Yeah, and I think it's so powerful that you both had the opportunity to watch agriculture grow within your family, which I think many people don't have. And I guess Ignatius, when you decided to go into agriculture, as you mentioned, people see it as a poor man's business or a venture. So when you decided to go into it, had you resigned your fact that you might be poor, or were you trying to change that narrative when you started?
Okay, based on the fact that I had seen the livelihoods of one or two people change because of farming, I wanted to think that what if everyone in this poor farming village was subjected to the same opportunities like these other two, my dad and the other person who was empowered through a donor-funded project. I said yes, it is possible. I can actually become rich through agriculture, because I usually look at agriculture just beyond farming. So it got me thinking that yes, the two have made it. I can also make it. If I can make it, then everyone in the village can make it if we are given the same opportunities and same training.
And so for you, how did you then, so having that mindset of I can make it and change it, how did you marry your understanding of agriculture with perhaps your entrepreneurship understanding? I guess it wasn't that in depth because you were just in high school when you started your business. So how did you merge those two together?
Perfect. Now, the first time I went to school, I expected maybe we are going to get some wonderful teachers coming at school and saying, come, this is how you should do your farming at home, you should farm this. So when you get back home, you'd better farm this because it is more profitable. You'd rather do it this way because this way it becomes more productive. Because I thought that education would be around making us a better person in what we are doing. Now, because I was coming from a farming village, I thought that the school in the village should be teaching us on how to become better farmers and maybe make better monies from our farming. To my disappointment, school was just come to class, sit down, look at the blackboard, get lectured, get back home. And worse enough, when we started studying agriculture as a subject, by the way, most disappointing is that the teachers came to class to teach it the same way they were teaching other subjects, maybe history or geography. And this challenged me so much. This challenged me so much that I remember when I was around P6, primary 6, that is usually called grade 6. I remember making a small garden at school. Why was I doing this? It is because in class we were being taught germination. So when we were taught germination, I went in the school kitchen, I got a few beans, I went behind the classroom block, and I planted these beans. I wanted to see the process of germination occurring. So I would come every day and open to see. And when the beans finally germinated, I was so happy. I understood that if this concept is achieved, if this concept is attained practically, then it would never leave my mind. That's why up to today I can tell you that the germination of the bean seed happened that way, because I recall it, because I did it. Now, when I got to my high school, still I kept on doing agriculture as a subject. I was always the best student in agriculture when it came to in class. I used to challenge my teacher quite oftenly. Actually, I remember I always scored the maximum marks in agriculture as a subject, and my agriculture teachers liked me so much. But when I finished my high school, because I had now grown up, I started thinking that why is it that I'm a good agriculture student? Is it just because maybe I was born like that? Or is it maybe because I read agriculture so much? That wasn't the case. Actually, I don't remember opening my agriculture books maybe to revise or so. No, never. I used to walk into the classroom, I get out of the classroom, I get to the examinations, and I would hit it 198, 99%. Now, after finishing my high school, I felt like I should pass on something to these students. I started believing that I was very good at agriculture because this is something I had grown up doing. This is something I was born doing. And this is something that I would do whenever I went back home in my holidays. So I said, you know what? I'll try and offer that to the students who may not have a chance to go through that, maybe because they've been born in urban settings, or maybe they've been born in places where agriculture is not treasured. That is when I decided to walk back to my former school. Now, because I was a very good agriculture student, the principal of the school had no reason to doubt me. He knew, of course, when it comes to agriculture and Ignatius is the one advising, it should be a good concept. So I was given an opportunity. I was given an opportunity to pass on the skill that I had promised them would transform the performance of the students. So I remember that first term, I worked for free. I was not paid a single coin. Each term in Uganda here has 3 months. So I worked for free for 3 full months. I got the senior 5 students. I embedded them into agriculture trainings practically. We documented whatever they had gone through, and I assessed them. I gave them an examination examining the topics that we had gone through practically. Now, funny enough, the worst student got a 73%. I just took these results and tabled them to the principal. I told him, you see, I think now I have a case. I think you should allow me now to do this officially in your school for a pay. And that was when I struck my very first deal after working for free for 3 months with my former school. So from there, I just kept going on and on and on and on and on up to date.
I find it so interesting that you mentioned agriculture was taught in the classroom, obviously without the practicality of it, and you had perhaps an advantage by watching your parents. And I think that's a unique setting for you to have had the experience to be taught agriculture in school and then also pay it forward in order for you to start building your business, even though you work for free for 3 months. Cleophas, I wonder, was it the same way that you started when you built the Uganda Micro Gardening Initiative in university? Did you also have an agriculture education? And then just sort of walk us through how you started that one. You're on mute.
Okay.
No worries.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so I studied agriculture, say from primary 1 up to university. So when I was in high school, I remember that was in senior 5. I always told my friends, like, I'm going to join Makerere University. I'm not going to any other university. That's one. And when I joined that university, I promise you guys, I'm going to start an organization that will transform lives of small farmers, because I come from a village where everybody is a farmer. And funnily, like, everybody despises farmers. They're like, farmers are very poor people. And I usually told them that I know I've seen people who are very rich because of farming. So when I go to university, I'm going to start an organization. I'm going to start a journey of transforming lives of poor smallholder farmers. So from the very first day that I stepped into university, I saw my dream coming. It was like an opportunity to make my dream come to life. I was given a course that was agriculture and rural innovations. So, I was like, but why? Why should it be agriculture and rural innovations? Can't we start something in agriculture and urban community? What if it is agriculture and urban innovations? So every time a teacher would be teaching, for me, I would be thinking, how can I use that knowledge to come up with something in the urban community? So one time we went for a trip to a university farm where we used to do our practicals. And we had gone for a party, so we are freshers and we had gone for a party, like they're introducing us to the university. For me, I went for a different mission. As people were celebrating in the halls, I was moving around and I was trying to observe what is it that I can pick from here and build from then. So I realized some crops growing in sacks. I was like, wow, this is perfect. Now I think I have it. So I am going to start an organization that trains people to utilize the small spaces they have in urban communities. And like good enough, I have a huge force of university students and they have rich information. So if I can work with these university students, then I think we can make it happen. So our very first outreach, I was in first year. So there was an exhibition and I was the very, very first year student at Makerere University to participate in an agriculture exhibition at the School of Agricultural Sciences. So while we were participating, it was a huge opportunity for very many students. Many students, like, they learned about the idea we were proposing, and some of them were proposing to join us. So we made the very first outreach, and students were moving close to 3 miles from the university. So they would volunteer, but at the same time, from the volunteering, they would learn how to deal with people and how to really work towards like changing lives of people. So by the time I left university, I think we had about 300 gardeners around Kampala. And I remember that time I was an Anzisha semi-finalist, though I didn't.
Yes, you were.
Yes. So they came and visited the projects. Yeah, I think that's how I get there.
It's so nice to hear how both of you, how both your businesses in a way are paying it forward and teaching and leading the next generation of agripreneurs, and I wonder, how did both of you merge your visions, because you're both co-founders of Art Planet Uganda. Ignatius is smiling and you're gearing up to answer the question. So how did you both merge the vision that you were still able to keep your individual vision but propel the business forward? Ignatius, please go ahead.
Okay, that is a very nice one. When you're brothers and one follows the other, both of you have grown up competing against each other in different things. You want to make sure the parents love you more than the other. You want to make sure you perform better at school. So quite often you want to make sure you're the one who has the good toys to play with, stuff like that. It wasn't any different with us. It was the same case. Now, as Claire was running the Uganda Micro Gardens Initiative and I was struggling with the students in schools and stuff like that, I realized that in one way or another, I could not personally handle 10 schools at the same time. I would not move to 10 schools at the same time and conduct trainings there. But Cleophas, with the Uganda Micro Gardening Initiative, he actually had a network of strong men and women from university who would go in various places at the same time and conduct different trainings. Now, I looked at this as an opportunity. Now, worse enough, Cleophas reached the semi-finals of the Anzisha Prize. Back then, I said, man, I think this guy is intelligent. These things of competing all the time are not good. So I reached out to Cleo and said, Cleo, look, what if we worked out something and some of your students, your volunteers, could actually come and help me in some way or another to conduct trainings in other schools where I cannot be at the same time. And the moment we tried out that, we didn't step back again. It actually worked out because we would sit them at once, we give them trainings on what is supposed to be done, then we would send them to the various schools. Because Cleo loved so much the smallholder farmers, we extended this beyond schools to reach out to his farmers. So we'd bring the parents of the children that we are training in schools who are farmers for training at the schools. So that's how we ended up incorporating the schools training and and the smallholder farmer trainings into one concept. Did I answer you right?
Yes, you did.
Perfect.
So how do you deal with you mentioned sibling rivalry and everything. So how do you deal with disagreements? When do you separate the line between business and family? Clearfash, tell me, because I know Ignatius is your baby brother, so he must be naughty some.
Oh, I would say like for several times we've had disagreements,
Uh-huh.
but I think the very most important thing is we are brothers. So
Mm.
even when you have a misunderstanding, I think it becomes much easier to handle than when you're not brothers. That's in my own opinion. And then the other thing, I'm an elder brother to Ignatius, and according to our culture here,
Yeah.
usually like if you're the elder of someone, there's that kind of respect they have for you. So I think that has always helped us in solving most of our disagreements. Yeah. Yeah.
The respect. Are you listening, Ignatius? The respect. It's earned.
I'm listening.
He respects me forcefully. Yeah?
Oh no, I mean that's great to hear, and to hear that it's still in the family. I mean, you really are building a legacy if you think about it. I'm going to shift a little bit towards the nitty gritty of entrepreneurship, and getting to how you actually started. I think there's an idea amongst especially young entrepreneurs, or the narrative within the entrepreneurship ecosystem is that you need funding, you need some form of monetary funding to start. And Ignatius, in our conversations over the past while, I think you sort of disagree with that, or you have a different alternative in the approach that you took when you first started.
Okay. Just as I said, the very first time I tried to put hands onto my dream was when I walked into my former school and talked to my head teacher, the principal at the school, and convinced them that I would actually train the students on how to do agriculture practically. Literally, the statements I have made costed me the transport fees only to travel from home to the school. The rest were my words. When I was at school, funny enough is that the processes that we went through required some few things like seeds that we would plant, or the opening stock that we would use for the poultry projects that the students were doing. But it was about me convincing the students for whom I was going to conduct the trainings for that, look, we need to contribute maybe 1,000 shillings each of you, so that we can raise this much, not too much money, of course, so that we can be able to have seeds with us here. And if we have these seeds, we are going to plant these seeds, and we are going to go through a practical process that will help you pass your exams. Now, starting a business does not start with money. From my own experience, it starts with your ability to sell this idea to people who can support you in one way or another. It started with my ability to first of all believe and accept that something is wrong and I can actually do something about it. It was followed by my ability to talk to my head teacher, convince him that, look, I can offer you a value. I can add something to what you are teaching here at school. It went beyond that and reached as far as the students for whom I was offering the value. When I sold my value to them, they bought it. And because they bought it, they would forego the money for break. They would forego their break for just a day, one day, so that they could secure a better mark in their exams. Therefore, I think that when we talk about funding for our businesses, especially when we are starting up, we should think beyond big monies. We should think about processes that put together whatever we want to start the business. So the whole idea or the whole thinking should not be clinged about money, because money is actually the very last bit of this whole. If it is a jigsaw, money is the very last fitting into this jigsaw. And usually at startup, you should try and make sure that the money that you need to start up is within your means. Because if it is not within your means, then I really don't think that is a business you can do. Anyway, that is my thinking from my own experience and the whole process that I went through establishing my very first business.
And I think you've explained it in such a tremendous, simplistic way. In that you look beyond, you look within your close networks and saw an opportunity, right? So you started from your school, and I think if they're young entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs on the call, I think that simplistic thinking will actually get you to starting your business rather than thinking about funding and monetary value. And I think that will come at a later stage. And I guess my next question on, do you have something to say? Yes, go for it, Ignatius.
I just forgot one thing. That
Go for it.
what I believe in is that when you put your hands on the right thing and you're doing it the right way, money will come to you. I don't know how the magic happens, but money will knock you along the way. That is if you're doing the right thing in the right way. That is the last word that I had to put about funding.
Yeah, no, I think that's a brilliant statement. Money will find you. And so thinking about, you mentioned funding not really being that much of an issue, but what were some of the other challenges you went through when you started your business?
Okay, one is, if you want someone to trust you that you can actually do something, then usually the community demands that you should have something to show. If I was not a good agriculture student for my former school, it wouldn't have been easy for me to actually get the deal, even on a free basis that I got first. Now, I can imagine how hard it would have been for me if I had to go to a new school and face a new principal saying, look, I was a good student somewhere, I think I can make your students as well good. It would be totally difficult for me. But now, despite the fact that I was accepted because of my experience, think about what would have happened if I didn't have that experience. Even after my first school, after I had got a success story with my first school, moving to the second school also proved problematic. Why? Because there wasn't trust in me. I was very young. I was a young boy. I think by then I was 17, and I was facing a 60-year-old head teacher and telling him, you know what? I think I have the solution that can fix the poor performance of the agriculture students. And I'm 17. I'm not a registered company or what. All I have are score sheets of students in a specific school where I claim I have studied before. I'll tell you what happened, that the head teacher to the second school where I had moved actually invested his own money the next day and traveled to my former school to find out whether what I was telling him was actually right. And when he discovered that this guy has been working with them for 3 months now and he has achieved those results over the last term, he called me. He called me and told me, young man, I think we can work with you. So there was an issue around trust. Someone trust, especially trust, is the biggest challenge that we faced when we were beginning this. The other thing would be that since we were amateurs in what we were doing as entrepreneurs, you could say at 17 years, you don't have, because of the kind of education we go through here in our country, you don't have the right set of skills that can maybe stand in front of 100 students and address them and tell them, look, I have an idea that can work for you. You don't have the right skill sets you don't have the right skills that will enable you maybe to convince the students very well. Just like someone who has gone through a specific kind of training and mentorship would be able to do that task. So the issue was majorly about my being an amateur and the lack of trust, people trusting you so easily, especially at a tender age, someone trusting you with the future of the students whose parents have paid him money, and you're 17 years old, you are preaching gospel. It was a challenge.
No way. They give money to a 17-year-old. Cleophas, so hearing Ignatius mention the fact that you guys were young and you had to build trust amongst your community and all of that. When you look back to where you started till now, what key business model that have you used in order for you to be successful? So what key lessons have you learned and implemented within the business?
I think regarding the business model we started with, at first it was just passion. Yeah, everything was driven by passion, and we had not focused much on sustainability by then. But as time went on, we started thinking hard because we knew it was quite hard to have donor money, like people coming in and giving in their money for something that is actually not anywhere. Like you are not online, you're just in your school and in your communities. Yeah. So we started thinking through various different, like we started like I should say we started adventuring different revenue streams, testing one at a time. So for example, from my side, I remember when I was at university, the very first thing we thought about was we are training people to grow from their homes, and every time they have to buy seeds from the market. So we are like, no, why can't we start making nursery beds and put these seedlings and actually sell them to these gardeners? Or we can provide them, like we give it in form of a loan. So when they're harvesting, then they can start paying back. So some had capacity to pay at first, others would pay like in installments, or others would pay at harvest time. So we moved on to making our own input. So we started producing our own input. So we started like creating different streams that could generate for us income to keep us moving. Yeah, so I think that's how we've tried to do it along the way. So we could look within what we have and figure out the financing options from there.
Yeah, and speaking of financing and that growth from cashing into actually creating a sustainable business model, Ignatius, we had a conversation around looking at investment within agriculture, and I'd love to understand what the climate is like when you guys were perhaps approaching investors, perhaps early on to now, and what the climate is like within Uganda and agripreneurship.
Okay. Um, Over the last, I think since January this year, that's when I've come to learn about a few other financiers coming into this ecosystem here in Uganda who have agriculture tailored products and services that are actually really made for farmers or people within the agriculture sector. I'll give you a scenario. Before, I'll give an example of a poultry farmer, a layer chicken farmer. A layer chicken farm needs at least 6 months to start generating revenues, and before someone hits the 6 month mark, they will not be able to generate any single coin from their business. Now, here comes an entrepreneur who walks into the bank and is requesting for finances in order to start a layer chicken business. Do you know what happens? The bank will tell him, fine, you want 6 million from us? We shall give you 6 million, but then you'll start paying us 600,000 every month, beginning next month. And you wonder, the business you're going to do will take 6 months to start generating money, but you're required to start paying a month after getting the loan. That means you're going to pay for about 5 months before you start generating money. The question is, where do you get those finances from? Do you know what happens? An entrepreneur ends up getting a huge loan with some part of it meant to pay the bank for this period before the enterprise starts generating revenues. And this eats into the pockets of the entrepreneur, and this eats down the enterprise. And before you realize, the enterprise cannot make it anymore. It is of recent that we are seeing some strategic partners coming into this workspace, and they are farmer-centric. I'll give you an example of AgriPlanet Uganda. We understand farming, and we understand this business from a farmer's perspective because we've done it before. If we are to create a loan product for farmers, we could make loan products. I don't mean that is what we do, but I'm giving you an example.
Right.
We could create loan products that are focused on specific situations. For instance, if you are dealing with a layer chicken farmer, you need to understand the business will take 6 months. Fine. Develop a loan product that enables that person to pay you only and only after the sixth month. That way, the kind of financing you give him will be able to help him rather than failing him. So we are seeing a new generation of support organizations coming in within this sector, and they are founded by people who have been farmers before, who understand this workspace, and therefore they are setting services or loan products that are suitable for the farmers. And I mean to say this, traditional banks should work out better ways of supporting farmers. The way they are supporting farmers is not the very best way. It is not the very best way. It is actually a failing way. And unless if they work out that, the agriculture sector of our continent will not benefit from their financing.
Right.
Did I do it?
Yeah, and I guess my follow-up question to that is because do you think that there's still banks still have a stigma of understanding what agriculture truly is?
I can say yes, they do. Why? Because banks employ people. If the people they employ are given the full authority and are given the full opportunity to actually explore the communities that they serve so that they can innovate their loan products to suit their beneficiaries, then banks could still have a stake. But for as long as banks think that they can sit within their offices and imagine the kind of financing that they should be providing for farmers and then tabling it out there, I want to inform them that every agricultural entrepreneur who will access their finances and use them the first time, they will never come back. Why? Because they will either have failed to succeed or they will actually have discovered that it is not a good product.
Right. So Cleophas, do you have anything to add to that, understanding what type of support agripreneurs need?
Oh, I think Ignatius has said most of it because I think we've been facing the same challenges in regards to financing from the banks. Huh? What else? Yeah, I think it is important, like he said, it for banks to understand like the language of farmers and then design their products tailored to that. I think there's nothing much I can add on that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I think even support programs like ourselves and those dealing with youth entrepreneurs, it's interesting because agriculture is always people always say it's the backbone of the African economy, but yet it's still tainted in how people see it, as you've mentioned in your videos and all of that, that it's a poor man's thing and it's really small holding. I guess so. My next question is around how easy was it to start a business within Uganda, and understanding that like 70% of young people in Uganda start businesses, and what could you possibly say to an aspiring entrepreneur if how could they start, and what advice would you give them, Ignatius?
Okay, so it is very simple. Do not do a business where you don't have passion. Don't. Because the moment you start that business, trust me, the first 1 to 3 months, there will be no money. And because you don't have passion there, you'll definitely leave business. It starts with a passion. Have passion for something before you do it. Do not force the passion. Passion comes naturally. You can actually feel it. Whenever you put your hands onto it, you feel so happy. So the moment you realize that my passion is in this sector, is in this group of people, and you put your hands onto it, trust me, it will work out. Secondly, before you put your hands onto something, have a plan. Have a clear plan. Say that, Ignatius, I'm going to do this and this and this and this in order to bring about this kind of change. In order to support these services that I'm going to offer, I'll be generating my revenues this way. At least if you have a strategic kind of plan, it could be a business model canvas, it could be whatever you want to call it, but as long as you have strategically put down what you want to do and how you are going to sustain it, and it is based on your passion, then you're good to go. Starting does not have a date. You can start now. You can start yesterday. You can start tomorrow. For as long as you realize there is something that is not right and you really have something that you can do about it.
I like that. So with your passion, start now, start today. Cleophas, any advice you give aspiring young entrepreneurs?
Oh, well, I would say to any young entrepreneur aspiring to start, the most important thing is never to stop learning. Why? Because the moment you stop learning, then that's where everything ends. But you keep on learning new things and putting them into action. And then you also have to keep on unlearning some things that actually don't work out. I know it's painful to unlearn, but it is very important. And it is equally important to keep on learning. Yeah.
That's some great advice. And I guess that's how you're gonna grow your current, let me get the name properly, Agri Entrepreneur Leadership Academy. And you've said that you wanted to be the next ALA, but for agripreneurs. So tell us a little bit more about that before we move on to the audience Q&A.
Perfect. I think I will just do this way. I'll start by saying it will take me some little bit of time, maybe a minute.
No problem.
Now,
Got time.
Now, the agriculture sector in this continent employs more than 50% of the people that are in the workforce of the continent. It is also true that agriculture sector contributes the biggest share. It is one of the biggest contributors of the export earnings of our continent. However, you realize that 80% of the farms that are within just the sub-Saharan Africa region alone are owned by smallholder farmers. But still, worse enough, you'll actually discover that all records document smallholder farmers as the world's poorest people. You see, they're the world's poorest people. They are the majority in the agriculture sector of our country, of our continent, but yet they are contributing the biggest share of the export earnings, and also they are the majority in the sector, in the employment world of our continent. What does it mean? This means that there is just one trigger that we have to hold and be able to transform our continent, and that is transforming the agriculture sector. If we transform the agriculture sector, we have developed our continent, we have put our continent on the right path that is going to lead it to prosperity. However, digging deep into agriculture as a whole sector, you realize that the smallholder farmers are the most, as the majority. So if you dig deep and empower the smallholder farmers first, then this is going to have a boom effect on the agriculture sector because they are the majority. Now, here is the problem with those people, with that group of people. The extension systems that we have in this continent are employing traditional methods of information sharing and information transfer, and this has actually affected our agriculture sector, especially the extension system. Because if you are to transform the agriculture sector of any continent or any country, it will start with the extension. It is the extension that brings the training service, the extension brings the input, the extension connects us to markets, the extension teaches us how to add value. So it is all about the extension, bringing information from the resources and bringing and letting it down to the farmers, back and forth, farmers and resources like that. Now the issue is there. The extension system has been developed to actually employ people so that people can come and actually work for salaried jobs, maybe in a public company or in a government or in any private company. They just come and get employment. So everyone reaches the field just to conduct trainings and come back to office, sign their checks, get their money, so they go back home. It has not helped at all. There are very many loopholes. The corruption has been very high because these are people who are just working for some little money. And the information that there is a huge difference between the information that they give the farmers and the information that actually farmers need, you see? So the extension system is a mess. And as long as the extension system is a mess, there is no way that we are going to transform that smallholder farmer. Here is the thing. At AgriPlanet Uganda, we have done that with our Farmers Resource Center over the last 1 year. Is it 1 year, Cleophas? And we have actually realized that the traditional extension system does not work. Cleo studied agriculture innovations and rural extensions, right? And I did the same course as well. At first, I was a medical student. I realized these things were not where I'm supposed to be. I went into the agriculture extension and rural innovations course. And we are taught to be extension workers. But the kind of extension workers we are taught to be is not what will actually transform the continent. So at AgriPlanet Uganda, we understood that and realized, yes, we are also part of the mess because we were trained to progressively push on the mess in the extension system. We sat back and said, now, how do we fix this? The only solution was to use entrepreneurship in the agriculture sector. If we are to produce a set of young men and women who are using social entrepreneurship as a tool to transform the smallholder farmers, just like the way we are doing, you are running an agricultural enterprise that is generating for you money and also transforming lives. You are an extension worker. Because you are bringing a skill to the farmers and they are paying you for that skill. You are transforming their life. You are bringing a market opportunity for the farmers and you are earning money out of that. You are transforming the farmer, but you have also created a job for yourself and many other people. This kind of model does not, it cuts very many shortcomings of the traditional extension system. You can never be corrupt in your own company. You can never. As an entrepreneur, you started an agricultural social enterprise, you're empowering the farmers, and then you become corrupt in your own business, you will be messing up your own future and your own passion. So at the Agri-Entrepreneur Leadership Academy, we are simply saying that let us develop a new generation of young agricultural leaders who are using social entrepreneurship, agricultural social entrepreneurship as a tool to transform the agriculture sector. Because this way, we are going to create very many jobs in the agriculture sector, and we are going to actually offer what is required by the farmers. I think that is it. Maybe Cleo, if you think there is something I've not said.
Clear?
Okay.
No, go for it. Go Clear.
Maybe one thing to add would be it would actually, with that model, then we will not need to employ very many people and pay them salaries, so it becomes much easier to reach out to very many communities through the different networks.
I think hearing about the next steps within the agripreneur leadership is just so exciting, because as you are really at the center and at the cusp of transforming not only the narrative around agriculture, but also developing the next generation to see it as something that they can do and help communities and transform the lives of you, as you've talked about it, and really rework what the extension methods are in place currently, especially within the African continent. And I know for a fact that with your tenacity, with your bond as siblings, and your incredible entrepreneurial mindset, you will be a force to be reckoned with, and you'll be so successful. So thank you, Ignatius and Cleophas, for sharing your journeys with us. I'm just so excited to see you guys continue. So now I'm going to move on to some audience Q&As, and I'll just read out a few questions, and then you both will have the opportunity to answer. I think, Cleophas, the first one is directed at you. The question is, do you practice organic farming in the schools that you guys work with? And what organic matters do you specifically apply to grow the crops?
Okay. The most important thing that we use while doing the training is our work is centered around permaculture. Permaculture means we work with nature. So like we train in schools how people can, for example, use organic methods like extract lactic acid bacteria and use it to substitute the chemicals that we would have used in the schools. Then we also teach them things like composting and related to that. Then also do fermented plant juice extracts. Yeah, so they ferment juice and use it to boost flowering. They ferment plant leaves to promote rooting. So I would say those are some of the organic methods, organic and natural methods that we promote.
Great. Tanya asked, calling out Tanya, how does the Academy make money, and what do you see the Academy doing in the next 10 years, Ignatius?
Okay. How does the Academy make money? Okay.
Make money, yeah.
Now, this is the point. We want to build a support network for smallholder farmers. And if we are to make money in this academy, it will be about the smallholder farmers supporting our agri-enterprise leaders, and then our agri-enterprise leaders supporting us. So it is simple. When we have you on our training program, by the way, we are having our first intake in October this year. We are putting everything right for them to be at our Farmers Resource Center. When we have you at the academy, you pay some little tuition fee, but if you can't afford the tuition fee, we are trying to find out ways of supporting those outstanding students so that they can be able to attend the training. Now, when you are with us, we train you, and as part of the training process, you establish an agricultural social enterprise. The beauty of it is that instead of graduating with a transcript, for our case, you graduate with an agricultural social enterprise that you have fully established in your community. The idea is that if you have not put that in place, then you do not pass the examination, because that is the test that we put up for you. So as you graduate with the agriculture social enterprise, it should have started generating income and as well impacting on the lives of a few farmers. Now, along the way, we are owning a stake in each of the agriculture social enterprises that each of our agri-enterprise leaders establish. Why? Because we are offering them a lifetime support. We are putting in place a lifetime support mechanism whereby we move with them from day one until the last day. And because we move with you along that way, we shall be owning just a small stake in your business so that we can be able to help you manage your business with you, and because we want to grow with our entrepreneurs along the whole way so that we can manage the whole system from us to them up to the smallholder farmers. I guess I had that right.
Imagine I'm on mute. Rookie mistake. Thank you, Ignatius. Another interesting question. As you further explore the agriculture sector, do you plan to use means such as technology to optimize the process of agriculture and introducing agriculture to the next generation? So how would you use technology if you plan on doing it?
The thing is, our agriculture training is, how do I use this word? Is a hybrid of physical face-to-face and online trainings. So actually 60% of the training is going to be offered online, and 40% is going to be offered face-to-face at our Farmers Resource Center. Why? Because this is a process. So we are with you in our process of establishing a business, and there is no way you are going to establish the agriculture social enterprise when you are at our about it. So we are going to use technology so much, especially online training tools and other forms of technology, of course, to make sure that the students in their communities are able to replicate the training that we are giving them in realizing social enterprises. By the way, what I didn't say is that the social enterprises they establish in their communities are in one way or another replicating one of the aspects at AgriPlanet Uganda. So we are trying to see how we scale to other communities. Exactly.
Cool. And just a couple more. What has been your most two important hires and why? So the people you've hired, can you give me two examples of the most important ones, or is everybody? Clearfash, can you go ahead?
I think Ignatius is one very important hire that
awesome.
that we have at the AgriPlanet Uganda. Why? Because he really represents us very well in writing the proposals and defending our projects, in offering mentorship, especially on leadership in a team. And then the other very important person in our organization is the person who manages the Farm Resource Center. Why? Because I really don't know, but I think much of what he does is driven by passion. Someone who understands the challenges the organization is going through, and is always willing to be there when you need him most. So I think that's another very important hire in the organization. Yeah.
Ignatius, do you want to add anything, or you agree?
I just want to echo what he said. I think the guy who manages our resource center is one of the most outstanding young people who are employed anywhere that I have come across. He is just 21 years old, but the way he does these things, I don't know. He's just amazing. I just don't know how we met him, but he's amazing. He's amazing. How I wish he was in position to hear me speak this. He's amazing. He's unstoppable.
How old did you say he was? 21?
He's just 21 years old.
Wow, very young. See, it is possible. The last question, and I guess both of you can answer this. What are 3 key lessons that you've learned during your entrepreneurial journey?
Okay, can I answer first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. With entrepreneurship, personally, I've learned that as an entrepreneur, someone running a business, it is very possible for the very worst to happen to you at any time. So I think the most, for example, like this year, we've had a global crisis everywhere, and I'm sure very many businesses have collapsed. So I think the very most important thing as an entrepreneur is how prepared are you for anything. Yeah. So I think that's the greatest lesson I've learned in entrepreneurship. For example, like when the pandemic has been on, we resorted to other methods of still, like we wanted to remain relevant. So we had to come up with various strategies, and I think that has helped us at least to keep moving for now. Yet very many of our friends have actually closed down. Yeah. So with me, I think that's very important.
Okay. Okay. Can I say a thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Now, from a sincere point of view, when you are an entrepreneur and you're running a business, you realize there are very many things that need to be done in your business. You need a website, you need to register your company, you need someone to manage for you the farm, you need someone to manage for you your outlet, you need someone who will be able to transport your commodities to the market. Now, here is the thing. As an entrepreneur, learn to trust experts. Learn to hire experts to help you do what you can't do. Because if an expert does for you something, they will do what they studied. They will do what they are meant to do. Now, as an entrepreneur, you don't need to know everything. No, that is not your role. Your role is to know who knows what you want. Go hire them. They do it for you. They will do for you their very best. I'll give an example of website designing. If you need a website, of course, Ignatius, I can do a website. I can sit on a computer and spend maybe 6 months trying to design a website, learning on YouTube and stuff like that. After 6 months, I will have a website. But if I hired an expert, in 2 weeks' time, I'll have a fantastic website that I could not even do if I was given a year. So one of the lessons is hire experts to help you sort out what you are not meant to do. Secondly, I'll say that as an entrepreneur, you need to understand the fact that the business will never be good all the time. Never, never, never. Actually, whenever you're on the high end, plan for the low end. So that the time when you are in the low end, things are normal. Trust me, in any business, especially for agriculture where I am, agriculture education and stuff like that, business will never be flat. There are times when you're at the high end, there are times when you're at the low end. In order to buffer the low end, make sure the time you're at the high end, plan for the low end. When you reach the low end, it will be a flat one. Thirdly, and most importantly as well, when you are running a business, you have to learn the fact that, how do I put this? But here is the thing. Running a business should be embedded on building trust in the people you serve, building a relationship with your customers, building a relationship with your beneficiaries. We always share this with Clayfash, that let not this look like a one-time transaction. When someone has come to buy our technology from our store, we make sure that all you take is not the technology. You take the technology alongside information that will help you prosper as a farmer, that will help you make better yields from your agriculture project. So from me, I think those are 3 very key important learnings that I have had, but also 4, I can add only 1, which is also important as well. Learn to build relationships, okay? Learn to build relationships with people who can support you, with people who can help you in other things. It is very important as an entrepreneur. Thank you.
Thank you, Ignatius and Cleophas, for this robust conversation. It's been awesome getting to understand more about your journey. Of course, I met you last year in Uganda, but I didn't really know you then. So this has been a great opportunity for me, as well as I hope for everybody on the webinar to learn more about Agripreneur and your business, Art Planet Academy. Thank you to everybody. If you have any questions and comments around the It Starts With You docu-series or more questions for Ignatius and Cleophas, please join us on our social. That's at Anzisha Prize, and we'll be happy to put you in contact with Ignatius and Cleophas if you're so inclined. But thank you so much, everybody, for joining in, and I hope to see you on the next one on the 7th of September, where we'll be joined by Kola Olajide. So thank you, Cleophas and Ignatius. Have a good evening.